At 6:20 on the northern end of Okinawa, a woman of 94 is already in her garden, pulling weeds from between the bitter melon vines with her bare hands. She has been awake since 5. She is not in a hurry. She is also not stopping. At 8:15 in the village of Ogimi, 4 women are gathered in a small room with green tea and sliced papaya. The youngest is 81. The oldest is 103. They have been meeting like this, in roughly this configuration, for over 60 years. 2 of the original members have died. Their replacements are in their 80s. By 10 in a community center in Naha, a woman of 97 is leading a group of 12 in a session of traditional Okinawan dance. She moves slowly and she moves correctly. When someone behind her loses the position of their arm, she corrects it without turning around. She has been dancing since she was 9 years old. She has no plans to stop. This is Okinawa, an archipelago of 160 islands at the southwestern tip of Japan, 100 kilometers from Tokyo, closer to Shanghai than to Osaka. Home to 1.4 million people, a subtropical climate, a distinct language and culture that predates Japanese absorption of the islands in 1879, and the highest concentration of centenarians per capita of any place on Earth for which reliable data exists. The majority of those centenarians are women. The world has been sending researchers here for 40 years to find out why. The women have been living their lives while the researchers arrive and leave. What follows is daily life on an island that did not set out to teach the world anything about longevity and has been doing so anyway for a very long time. The data on Okinawan longevity has been collected and recollected since the 1970s, when a Japanese government census first drew attention to the unusual concentration of people over 100 on the islands. The Okinawa Centenarian study, begun in 1975 by researchers Makoto Suzuki, Bradley Wilcox, and Craig Wilcox, tracked Okinawan centenarians across decades and produced the most comprehensive longitudinal record of extreme old age in any single population on Earth. The numbers are specific. Okinawa has historically recorded between 40 and 50 centenarians per 100,000 people. The comparable figure for the United States is roughly 17 per 100,000. For Japan as a whole, itself the country with the world's highest life expectancy, the figure is lower than Okinawa's. Women account for the large majority of Okinawan centenarians, in a ratio consistent with global patterns of female longevity, but at an absolute level that exceeds every comparable population. A woman born in Ogimi village in northern Okinawa in 1920 had a measurably higher probability of reaching 100 than a woman born anywhere else on Earth in the same year. The researchers came looking for a single variable. They did not find one. What they found was a cluster: diet, movement, social connection, a specific orientation toward purpose in daily life, that operated together and could not easily be disaggregated. The cluster resisted the kind of analysis that produces a headline. The headline came anyway, usually about sweet potatoes. The sweet potatoes are real. They are not the whole answer. A day in the life of an elderly Okinawan woman does not read like a wellness routine. It reads like the life of a person who has not been told to stop. A woman of 91 in a village on the Motobu Peninsula wakes without an alarm at around 5. She makes tea, drinks it in the kitchen, and goes outside to check the garden before the heat arrives. The garden is not decorative. It produces bitter melon, sweet potato, green papaya, herbs, and turmeric. It requires daily attention. She gives it daily attention. By 7, she has eaten a small breakfast, rice, miso soup, pickled vegetables, a piece of tofu. The portions are small. This is not accidental, and it is not a diet. It is the eating pattern she has had since childhood and that most older Okinawans share: frequent, small, varied, and unhurried. The Okinawan phrase, hara hachibu, eat until you are 8 parts in 10 full, is not a modern wellness prescription. It is a phrase that older Okinawans learned from their parents and use without attaching significance to it, the way a person breathes without attending to breathing. The habit is so old it has stopped being a habit and become a reflex. By 9, she may walk to a neighbor's house, or sit outside, or begin work on a piece of bingata, the traditional Okinawan fabric dyeing she has been doing since her 30s. The work requires concentration and fine motor control. At 91, she has both. She does not describe the work as therapy or cognitive exercise. She describes it as something she does. In the afternoon, there may be a gathering, tea, conversation, food. In the evening, an early and light meal. By 8, she is preparing for sleep. The day is not full in the sense that a busy person's day is full. It is full in the sense that each part of it has content, and the content is chosen. The absence of urgency is not laziness. It is the pacing of a person who has been doing this for 90 years and has learned that the garden will still be there at 6, and the tea tastes the same whether you drink it standing or sitting. The traditional Okinawan diet that the Centenarian study documented was built on a specific set of ingredients and a specific set of proportions. Sweet potato, the Okinawan purple-fleshed imo, was the dietary staple through most of the 20th century, particularly in the post-war period when food was scarce, and the sweet potato sustained the population through the years of Reconstruction after the Battle of Okinawa in 1945. The battle killed roughly a quarter of the civilian population. The women who survived it and rebuilt on the other side are among the centenarians the researchers came to study. The resilience of the body and the resilience of the person are not always separable. The diet was predominantly plant-based: rice, vegetables, tofu, seaweed, small amounts of pork, small amounts of fish. Caloric intake was lower than the Japanese mainland average and lower than comparable Western populations. The variety was high. The processing was low. Nothing about the diet was designed for longevity. It was designed for the circumstances available: the subtropical abundance of the garden, the fish in the surrounding sea, the fermented and preserved foods that kept through the seasons. Turmeric, used in Okinawan cooking for centuries, has since been studied for its anti-inflammatory properties. The research followed the diet. The diet did not follow the research. The women who ate this way did not eat it for health. They ate it because it was what their gardens grew, and what their mothers had cooked, and what tasted like the food they recognized as food. The outcome attached itself to the practice without announcement. The moai is the most studied social structure in the Okinawan longevity literature and also the most difficult to export. A moai is a group of women, typically 5, formed in childhood or early adulthood, who meet regularly for their entire lives. They share resources in lean times, support each other through illness and loss, and provide the sustained social connection that a century of longevity research has consistently identified as one of the most significant predictors of long life and late life health. The groups in northern Okinawa that have been studied longest have been meeting for 50, 60, 70 years. 2 women in Ogimi have been meeting every week in the same configuration since 1951. One of them is 102. The other is 98. They have been each other's longest continuous relationship, longer than either of their marriages. The research on social connection and longevity is substantial and consistent. Chronic loneliness is associated with mortality risk comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Social integration, the sense of belonging to a group that expects your presence, is associated with reduced stress hormones, better immune function, and measurably longer life across most of the population studied. The moai is not a support group. It is not a therapy group. It is not a wellness intervention. It is 4 or 5 women who have known each other since they were young and who show up week after week, decade after decade, because they always have and because the others will be there. The health outcome is a byproduct of the obligation. The obligation was never about health. It was about showing up. A woman who is expected by 4 friends she has known for 60 years has a reason to get up on a morning when she might otherwise not. In late life, when the reasons to get up can diminish, when the work is done, the children are grown, the husband is gone, the moai is still there on Thursday. That is its function. It does not require a name for it. The Okinawan concept the longevity researchers have discussed most is Ikigai, a Japanese word that translates approximately as the reason you get up in the morning, the thing that makes the day worth starting. The word is not unique to Okinawa. It is used across Japan. But the researchers who studied Okinawan centenarians found it operating with particular consistency in the lives of the oldest people they interviewed. A woman of 101 who still tended her garden described the garden as her Ikigai without using the word. She said, "If I don't go out there, who will do it?" The question was rhetorical. It was also the answer. The Ikigai of Okinawan centenarians is rarely abstract. It is the garden, the bingata, the moai on Thursday, the grandchildren who need to be fed when they visit, the younger neighbor who knocks at the gate and needs advice, the dance group that meets on Tuesday and expects her to lead it. Purpose in the Okinawan frame is not a life mission, it is a Tuesday. It is the specific, concrete, modest thing that will go undone if you are not there to do it. A woman who is needed by her garden, by her group, by her neighbor, has a reason to continue that does not depend on grand meaning. The modest reason is, the research suggests, sufficient. It may be more sustainable than the grand one. The data on Okinawan longevity has been shifting. The centenarian advantage that made Okinawa famous has narrowed in the decades since it was first documented. Okinawa, which ranked first among Japan's 47 prefectures in life expectancy for much of the late 20th century, had dropped significantly in the rankings by the 2010s, particularly for men. For women, the decline has been slower but measurable. The cause is not mysterious. American military bases have been present on Okinawa since 1945 and now cover approximately 15% of the main island's land area. The post-war American presence brought fast food, McDonald's, Burger King, A&W, to Okinawa decades before it reached mainland Japan. Okinawa has the highest rate of obesity in Japan. It also has some of the highest rates of processed food consumption. The diet that the Centenarians built their lives on is not the diet their grandchildren are eating. The traditional diet was not protected by policy or pride. It was maintained by poverty and limited access to alternatives. When the alternatives arrived, the younger generations chose them with the freedom that any generation exercises when it has more options than its parents. The options arrived faster in Okinawa than almost anywhere else in Japan. The moai is also changing. Younger Okinawan women moved to Naha or to the mainland. The groups that formed in childhood and persisted across a lifetime formed in villages where people did not move. A generation that moves at 22 does not stay long enough to form a group at 22 that it will still be attending at 82. The garden is changing too. The apartment blocks in Naha do not have gardens. The sweet potato does not grow on a balcony. In the village of Ogimi, which markets itself as the village of longevity and has a sign at its entrance with statistics about its elderly residents, the young people still leave for the city. The Centenarians remain. They are, by definition, the ones who stayed. In the garden on the northern end of the island, the woman of 94 is still pulling weeds. It is 7:30 now and the sun is high enough to feel on her shoulders. She straightens up, looks at what she has done, and moves to the next row. The garden is not a hobby maintained for its own sake. It is a working plot, bitter melon, sweet potato, mugwort, turmeric, whatever the season calls for, that has fed this household for decades and still does. Okinawan gardens of this kind are typically small, worked daily rather than in occasional bursts, and structured around a rotation that means there is always something ready and something else that needs tending tomorrow. The daily necessity is, in its way, the whole mechanism. There is no version of retirement that includes the garden going unweeded. Because the garden does not know its keeper is 94. It simply needs what it needs. She is not thinking about longevity. She is thinking about the bitter melon, which needs to be harvested before the weekend, and which no one else will do if she doesn't. In the community center in Naha, the dance session has ended. The woman of 97 is drinking tea with two of the other participants. She will be back next Tuesday. The group expects her. She expects to be there. The dance groups on Okinawa are not organized around the idea of exercise as a discrete, prescribed intervention 30 minutes, 3 times a week, tracked and logged. They are organized around a standing social commitment that happens to involve moving the body. Traditional Okinawan dance, along with karate and various community exercise circles, functions less like a fitness regimen and more like a recurring appointment with people who will notice if you are absent. The distinction matters more than it might first appear. A habit anchored to other people's expectations tends to survive long past the point where a habit anchored only to personal willpower would have quietly lapsed. In the village room in Ogimi, the 4 women have finished the green tea and moved on to something that was brought in a cloth bag by the youngest of them. The conversation has been going for 2 hours. It will go a little longer. Ogimi, a village on the northern part of the main island, has been studied for years as a concentration point within Okinawa's own reputation for longevity. Researchers examining blue zone populations have returned to it repeatedly. What they find, beyond diet, is the moai, small, durable social groups, often formed in childhood or early adulthood, that meet regularly for decades and function as an informal support network, financial, practical, emotional, running in parallel to family. A moai is not a club one joins for a season. It is closer to an extended, chosen kinship structure, and the four women with their cloth bag and their green tea are very likely conducting exactly the kind of gathering that has been meeting, in some form, since they were young. The women here did not set out to live forever. They set out to tend the garden, keep the group, lead the dance, pull the next weed, pour the next cup. They set out to be there on Thursday because the others would be there, and to eat until they were 8 parts full because that was how much food tasted right, and to get up in the morning because the bitter melon was not going to harvest itself. The phrase for eating until 8 parts full, hara hachibu, is old enough on Okinawa that it functions less as dietary advice than as an inherited reflex, something said at the table by grandparents and repeated without much conscious thought by the time it reaches the next generation. It is not a diet in the sense of a plan adopted and monitored. It is closer to table manners, simply the way eating is done here, absorbed the same way a native speaker absorbs grammar, long before anyone frames it as a health practice worth naming. And the years simply kept arriving. And the women, with the quiet persistence of people who have somewhere to be and someone expecting them, kept meeting them.